to have someone name things may be part of our sanity management. That's the dignity of risk. And that's the dignity of risking as an active verb. It's a big ask to find out what you actually need. It is a big ask to actually connect to your own needs and to then take action in terms of the aftermath of being a former child refugee is what has emerged for me in the current context of the United States with the immigration raids and the news coverage of it. There's an aftermath to experiencing horror and terror and shock trauma that stays with someone over the course of a lifetime. There is never a line in the sand that says, I have arrived, I am healed, I am here, like I am complete, I am whole, I am fixed. Everyone deserves to be happy.
Hello, today I'm sitting with a dear friend, Linda Tai. Linda is a somatic and trauma therapist, educator, group facilitator, collaborator, and someone who's been shaped by how many of us think about nervous system regulation in everyday clinical practice. She's an immigrant, a former child refugee, and she works closely with the BIPOC communities and indigenous cultures, especially in her current homeland of the interior of Alaska. And it's always through a lens of understanding safety, survival, and dignity in the body. And coming from Academy of Therapy Wisdom and doing courses with Linda, we always appreciate that she makes the nervous system both deeply practical and deeply relational, and not abstract theory, but something that you can actually use this coming Monday with a dysregulated client. But today I want to focus on not so much on what Linda teaches, but I want to explore what she became and her amazing path, how she got this moment of her life. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Brian. Such a gift to be, truly it is such a gift to be here with you and with you all.
And you know, it's so interesting because I went to ChatGPT for questions about you and it totally failed me. So I went to your website and it was much more interesting, more accurate. And you had in your, right below your about page, you have somatic therapist and trauma therapist, freelance educator, public speaker and storyteller, group facilitator, collaborator, infiltrator, cross-pollinator, community builder, agent of change, former child refugee, and happy human being. So how does it feel hearing those words read back to you? Anything missing? Any updates?
It's always interesting because the person I am now is a byproduct of all of these past experiences, and yet when we put it out there in concrete, in words on a website, it can then feel like I'm defining myself.
Yeah,
and it can feel like a trap.
yeah.
Right? Like now I've defined myself and it feels like a trap because now here's a little box I've got to live in forever, and it's not like that. And yet there's this thing about being a woman of color where I'd never been given the opportunity to define myself. Yeah, and so it's new, and yes, it does feel like I'm putting myself into a box, and it's a relief as well, because when you're busy defending yourself, as Dr. Kenneth Hardy says, you don't get to define yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my precious life force energy has been used up defending myself from such a young age in terms of my identity. And one of those first identities is that of a refugee. And in society's context, like, refugees are only allowed to inhabit certain spaces in other people's psyches. I'm either invisibilized labour and invisible labour, right, to do your nails, to clean your houses, to clean the hotel rooms, to janitorial services, unpaid or low-paid labour, to pick your vegetables, to wash the dishes at the restaurant, right? Like it's the invisibilized labour. Or I get to inhabit the the model minority myth, right? The Cinderella story, the oh look, right? They've come here with nothing and look at what they've made of themselves and their lives in such a way that valorizes Western countries and Western nations' magnanimous charity, right? In allowing us to be resettled. Right, the grateful refugee trope that gets repaid as the model minority myth. And if I, and better still, if I can be invisibilized labor, that's model minority. Like your neurosurgeon, your dentist, your financial planner, your, right, knowing my place. And if I don't inhabit those two places, then I am the criminal element. Right? I've screwed up my own country and I'm here to screw up yours. And so growing up, I was always defending myself. Yeah, I was always defending myself because I was being defined by others. And when I was being myself, I could actually see that people were struggling to fit me into a box, right, in terms of what made sense in their world. Yeah, for where
it's so hard to put you in a box because you're from Vietnam, your last name's Thai, you've got an Australian accent. So my dyslexic brain gave up putting you in a box. It was too hard.
Yeah, and most people in the US don't know the difference between Thailand and Taiwan and don't understand that the Thai language doesn't have short last names, right? And so, yeah, and then I'm busy explaining myself again, right? I'm busy defending, like explaining yourself over and over again is a way of defending yourself, your birthright to define yourself. And so it's easier to be an enigma.
So it's so beautiful that you did put your identity out there.
Yes.
Which of those words took the longest to earn internally?
Internally, the former child refugee, because of all the stigma and the shame that is attached to being a refugee.
Yeah.
And for me to name that is a reclamation. For me to name that these days is a reclamation and a repudiation of the stigma and the shame. And also happy human being. Right? There's more to me than what I do in the world and what I offer into the world. Yeah.
That's so important that we don't get lost in our work.
Yes.
And lose our humanity.
And in that, I also name that it's everyone's birthright. To everyone deserves to be happy, including me and you.
Yeah, Pema Chodron told a story when she was running Gumpo Abbey to the abbot. Is it okay to be happy? For a very serious nun who's done a 3-year retreat, practices 12 hours a day, it's okay to be happy.
Yes, it is.
Would you share your childhood story about being a refugee, leaving southern Vietnam with your parents, and just how that experience has shaped so much of who you are?
When something's in plain sight but you don't see it? Yeah, for most of my life, it was like the background and that, the backdrop. It was the backdrop. And yet it was not talked about, and yet it was right there. And yet it impacted everything, but we didn't talk about it. Yeah. And for refugees, home ceased to exist long before we actually left. And there's no home for us to go back to. And so that has taken me a long time to reconcile with. Right? That permanent feeling of not having a place. Yeah, not having a place, and in many ways that led me to make concentric circles outwards, right, to find my place in the world. And the thing with refugees and with war trauma, because I understand war trauma from the perspective of civilians, and war trauma is the overexposure to death and the overexposure to senseless death and to senseless violence, and overexposure to the preciousness and the precariousness of life. And I can't even find the words for it in this moment, but just how it can all disappear for no reason whatsoever. And that's a militarized zone, right? And Minneapolis recently, right, was a militarized zone. The United States is a militarized nation. And so part of what I've been reckoning with recently in terms of the aftermath of being a former child refugee is what has emerged for me in the current context of the United States with the immigration raids and the news coverage of it, as it really came to a reckoning with our collective dignity, a reckoning with our collective courage, a reckoning with our collective love. And my own history of being hunted came up. And I didn't expect it to, but that's life, you know. You don't see the world as the world is, you see the world as you are. And I'm ignoring most of 2025 by working, which is what my parents did in order to survive, is to just double down and keep working. And yet there was something that would emerge every time I would stop working for long enough to feel my feelings that I totally could relate to, because I'm someone who's in long-term recovery from addiction. Right? One of the aftermaths of my life that has held me in good stead, because I now know when I'm avoiding myself. I now know when I'm escaping my feelings through ways that can be healthy and unhealthy. Yeah. And so when that emerged for me, that whiff of the sniff of the echo of a shadow, having been hunted, I knew that I needed to do something with that, because I've spent a lot of my life like crying whenever anyone stands up to a bully, like even if it's a TV commercial. Yeah. And I've never understood why. And with the footage that was coming out of Minneapolis, I was having both, it's a both and. It's that echo of being hunted, and then there's also the overwhelming tears that when I got curious about it, it was the tears around being, of having someone stand up for you, which didn't happen for us when we fled Vietnam and we're out in open ocean and we're running out of food and running out of water, and a boat appears in the distance, and the boat is much faster than our boat, and we don't know if the boat is friend or foe. And there were pirates that were around the South China Sea taking advantage of people who were fleeing from home. Just like there are people who prey upon women, children who are fleeing domestic violence and abusive situation in homes. Just like there are people who take advantage of people who are fleeing cult situations, right? Religious refugees. When you're in that leaving, that's when you're most in danger. Yeah. And so the pirates outran our boat very quickly, very easily. And that was that memory of being hunted. Yeah. Yeah. That.
And they did it twice, I recall.
Three times.
Three times.
Yeah. And so recently, like 2 weekends ago, I actually got to do some of my own work around that history of being hunted that I don't even remember, because it got jammed so far deep, like into my memory banks that I don't remember it. Right? It was in brain spotting 8-9 years ago that a fragment of that memory resurfaced. And I think a year or two after that, in my IFS training, internal family systems, parts work, I got to meet the little girl on that boat that I had shut the door so hard on my inner child for the entirety of my life leading up to, 7-8 years ago. And so, all of this is to say that, yes, there's an aftermath to experiencing horror and terror and shock trauma that stays with someone over the course of a lifetime, that that is a lot.
You had this really potent quote on your website: as a trauma survivor, exposure equals death. The echoes in my body tell me that being seen and being heard makes me a target. And I wonder how many people in Minneapolis that have been victims will feel this for the rest of their life, including the woman who was autistic, who got dragged from a car and then got kicked out of the inaugural the speech the other day for standing up.
Yes, right. And being kicked out of that speech, like that adds salt into the wound, because that's the erasure. That's the erasure. Like there's the original violation. There's the original self-snuffing of one's own precious life force energy in order to maybe survive. And then one lives one's life at the edges and at the cracks and in the shadows and at the margins, right? Fringe dwelling, which is a lot of my 20s, right? Yeah. And I mean, I live in Alaska. I came here to get away from modernity. Yeah. And in many ways, we don't have a voice because it actually protects us from feeling the added humiliation, shame, rejection, abandonment of erasure. Yeah.
I think listeners will be really interested in 2 tracks. One is your journey to become a mental health professional, and your continuous taking care of yourself. Like, I know grief work is really non-negotiable with you, and other work. Yep. Such a rich journey that you've been able to do, and an internal compass to go forward. I'm almost lost on a next question of what you want to share as far as your journey.
Yeah. Maybe let's just pause in this moment, Brian. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know there might be some slowing down with the injury that you've had recently, and I also know that some of my content may butt up against your life as well. And
yeah, I've got it on the side, and it's really rich, and I appreciate feeling it. So thank you for helping.
Yeah, I can actually feel you feeling this with me, and just wanted to take care of the both of us in this conversation.
It brings tears. And I think as a white Jewish man, I feel I'm on both sides. Like, I'm not a BIPOC. I don't get pulled over for driving. I'm white. I mean, but if they saw my nose, maybe that would be different. So I've got definitely privileges as a white man and a family that really valued education. At the same time, we have our intergenerational trauma. And as we speak, I'm supposed to get a family heirloom from World War II delivered. So, yeah, I feel both sides, a privilege and a history of losing family, running away from a country, parents that never healed, never developed. So thank you for checking in.
Yeah, it's what in other groups, when I've actually said the words, right, the echoes in my body of being hunted, there is something that resonates like a shockwave for so many of us that we weren't able to recognize until someone else names it. And so this is a good for us to take a pause, because I'm sure that there are listeners who may actually be, be feeling something right now.
And I think that word hunt it, like that is really potent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like more potent than saying intergenerational trauma, this happened, but actually hunt it is like naming it.
Yeah.
Like you have a certain precision that I think really identifies what happened or the feeling.
And I'm just going to sit here with you and with all of us in this. Yeah. Because it's the relief and the grief and the terror and the speaking of something that has previously been unspoken. Or perhaps it's been spoken, but we weren't in a place to take it in. Yeah. And there may be some of that taking it in now. We also have the Epstein files that are happening, ongoing, but really coming forth at the moment. Right? They can also bring things up for people around being a target. Yeah, we are living in a red hot mess right now where, I'm actually spending a lot more of my own time outside of work and outside of clients addressing my own history that I didn't realize was there, that I did not realize was there. And I've always said that being a therapist is a byproduct of my own healing journey. Yeah, I came into this later in life. And for me, earlier in life, I had to numb out and disconnect and compartmentalize off and shove my feelings away and shove people away in order to survive, like in order to cope, in order to not, I don't know. I don't want to think about how my life could have turned out, right? Because it was already in a pretty bad place. And yet there was remarkable resourcefulness, and yet by the grace of, by the grace of something that I can't name, don't know, like the ineffable, I stumbled upon yoga and meditation and healing work. And given the current mess of things, I find it to be in integrity to take that time to slow down and to listen in on my own area of care for the world through taking care of myself in such a way that maybe perhaps I have more to offer because I'm able to give words to a process and to an experience that others may find too scary, too treacherous, too terrifying to go there themselves, and yet to have someone name things may be part of our sanity management. Yeah, sanity management and terror management. Right? Yeah, amidst the world today is so important. Is so important.
I really appreciate how, like, you really make time to take care of yourself. You have non-negotiables, but then you bring that back out into the world, whether it's individual, the group stuff you do, or even speaking. You're not going into a cave just for yourself, but you have a big vision that you're going to bring it back out, like in and out.
Yeah.
And that seems like you found some rhythm for yourself.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. There is a rhythm there, yes, these days.
Well, you model something.
Yeah. Yes. I try to. I try to. And the pacing of that rhythm is much more reasonable these days. Not reasonable, reasonable is the wrong word. There's more capacity these days for there to be less lag time between me doing my own work and then offering the fruits of that labour, that healing into the world. And yet that's a muscle that I've learned to flex over time. I used to need to disappear into my cave for days, weeks, months, years, right? Yeah, before I then re-emerge into the world. And it's taken a lot of work for my interpersonal environment and my physical environment to begin to shape itself around the person that I am becoming in such a way that also supports my ability to metabolize and integrate my own healing process in a more in a shorter time frame. And that is a parallel process with so many of our clients, right? That yes, some of us need catharsis. However, we also need to keep an eye on expanding someone's integrative capacity. And that integrative capacity is not an individual job. It's a both and, right? It's individual integrative capacity at the nervous system level, at the internal systems level, internal parts level. And that is also interdependent with one's roles and responsibilities in one's life, as well as the people in one's life. Yeah. And so this rhythm and this tempo has been a practice over time. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a big ask to find out what you actually need. It is a big ask to actually connect to your own needs and to then take action on behalf of one's own needs.
I think that second part, you might know what you need, but then to really take action and respect yourself and take time to what you need.
Yeah. And that's the reps, that's going to the gym, that's the trial and error, that's the I don't know, let's try it out and see. That's the dignity of risk. And that's the dignity of risking as an active verb. And, you know, I think it's Hafez says that fear is the cheapest room in the tavern and you deserve to live in better lodgings. And when I came to my addiction recovery, I was scared of how my life would turn out if I didn't figure out how to not do the thing that I couldn't not do. And eventually I got loved into becoming, and there were people there who helped me to engage in the riskiness of living, of being alive, of being real, of being seen, of being heard, of being responded to, of being taken seriously. I mean, these are all deeply painful for so many of us.
Fearful to be a happy human?
Yes. Or rather, fearful to be a human. Let's just start there.
So what led you on this journey to enter the mental health profession?
I was teaching yoga and mindfulness in an intensive outpatient program for addiction recovery. And I was also teaching into the community as well as into residential treatment settings. And I was someone who took up meditation and yoga because it was something that was making a difference for me in my life. And the reason I started doing yoga was because I knew at some point I would want to go back to school. Yeah, at some point in the distant future, I would want to go back to school and become trained in something, some sort of vocation. And I knew I needed to get over my authority figure stuff. I knew I needed to figure out how to just do what I was being told to do. And I had a dental technician a dental hygienist who was super into yoga. And I figured that if I could sit there while she cleaned my teeth, then I could sit there while she told me what to do and how to do it. And that would be good for me. And it would be a little baby step, like a little baby step, a little nibble, to build my capacity to do things that I didn't want to do and didn't like doing. Like I hated yoga. I hated it. It was yeah. But the fact that I hated it was what kept me coming back to see if I could become better at something that I didn't like.
Oh my God, I have the same story of meditation.
Yes.
I was noisy. I hated it. I had like a 16-year-old girl tell me, will you please keep it down? I was breathing so heavy. I have deviated septums. I hated it so much. I just kept coming back. Like, what is this? So I love your yoga story.
Yes. Yeah. And in the process, I got to see how I turned up on the yoga mat. Right? I got to get to know the itty bitty shitty committee. And I got to see that how I do one thing is how I do everything. And maybe I can change the way I do one thing. And that might change the way in which I do other things. And I find myself being more in the world. Residential addiction and trauma recovery, intensive outpatient, mental health counselling clinic, community classes specifically for folks in addiction recovery, teaching meditation and yoga, as well as classes to the general community. And I had a supervisor sit down and say to me, hey, Linda, have you thought about becoming like a trauma therapist or a mental health clinician? And I looked at Guna and I said, nah, like with like this face, like, nah. And by this point in time, I had read The Body Keeps a Score probably about 3 or 4 years prior to that. And so, I was already beginning to be in a relationship with Bessel van der Kolk and Alicia Skye, attending their week-long workshops. And I then decided that if I was going to be a therapist, I was going to be a trauma therapist. So parallel to graduate school, I got trained in all the modalities. And I used my time in the trainings in those modalities to do my own work. Yeah.
How important was it for you to have a mentor like Bessel?
It gave me a long ball vision. It gave me a role model. It gave me a way of noticing my relationship with authority figures or perceived authority figures. I didn't talk to Bessel for the first 5 or 6 years that I was around him. I mean, there were times when we talked, but it was not like we talk now, right? Yeah, everything is such rich, fertile ground to get to know oneself. And yet the piece is, what do we do with that next? Yeah, what do we do with that next? And for me, the 10 years of meditation and yoga that I'd had prior to that, as well as living in ashrams, longer meditation retreats, the yoga philosophy, Buddha Dharma, the Sangha of 12-step groups. It gave me enough capacity to develop some patience and some gentleness and some kindness and some compassion.
You really found resources.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed from knowing you is your flexibility, your story of trying to teach meditation in a rehab center, which sitting for 5, I don't know if you, like, I would love for you to tell the story, and also like what gave you permission to break the mold from your family heritage, a 2,600-year-old lineage of Buddhism, to like, I'm going to modify this. That with the time.
Well, I grew up in a Buddhist household, so I saw my parents meditating every day, particularly my mother, and she'd do her chanting as well, and she'd light incense every day, and they never pushed the practices onto me. I remember going to a Buddhist temple as a teenager and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was just too weird and I couldn't do it and my mind wouldn't shut up. And my parents actually never pushed it upon me, which I'm really
Mm-hmm.
glad for, because I'm an apple that fell off the tree and rolled down the valley very far away, and I'm still an apple. But that, that was part of my journey, and my parents knew that, and they didn't push it upon me. And I stumbled upon Vipassana meditation in the tradition of SN Goenka when I was waiting for my green card to come through, and I couldn't leave the US, but I could travel to another state in the US. So that sort of satisfied that impulse or that urge, that samskara, that sankara of I'm uncomfortable, got to get out of here. Yeah. And within the discipline of silent seated meditation for 8-10 hours a day, there was some stillness that managed to emerge. And as a result of that, things actually changed in my life, because I was able to have capacity for a little bit of pause between action and consequence. And I began to see the reactionary nature of my mind and the automaticity of that and the automaticity of the reactivity. And over time, I actually got to see the overreactions that I thought were just me, like just my normal way of being in the world. And I also got to see my underreactions. And then I got asked to teach meditation and yoga in an addiction recovery setting. And that was the only mindfulness practice I'd ever been exposed to. And it had such searing benefit for me, such searing benefit that I did eight of these 10-day retreats within a space of about 3 years. There was just so much I got out of that practice that I wanted more and more of it. And then yoga became then a way of putting mindfulness practice, distress tolerance, being in the present moment, noticing the mind, right, just simply noticing with compassion and non-judgmental awareness. Got to put that into action. And reality is the best teacher. And what I saw is that for folks in early addiction recovery, right, silent seated meditation and observing the breath, right, we have to titrate it down into little itty bitty pieces. And for some folks, it's a peri-trauma response. Peri-trauma meaning the thing before the thing before the thing before the terrible thing happened. And being silent, still, small, quiet, noticing your breath. I mean, that's the thing before the thing before the thing for so many trauma survivors. And we know that trauma is a precursor to it, is one of the huge, not the only, but one of the big precursors to the uptake of a solution to your problem. A solution to your problem, a solution to the pain. And so that was when I began to then introduce breathing techniques. I then began to introduce window of capacity or window of tolerance. I then began to get curious and read research papers and books and started to get to learn about the sensory template and the ways in which sensory processing disorder, sensory processing challenges, sensory processing issues, are actually also a precursor to the uptake of addictions and compulsive behaviours, right? The uptake of solutions for a sensory template that is very easily overwhelmed as well as underwhelmed, right? The strive to feel alive and the strive to not feel too much. Yeah, and so then I brought all of that psychoeducation as well as skills and techniques and practices into early addiction recovery settings, whether it's residential treatment or intensive outpatient. Yeah.
I like how open you are to really collect data and research and be flexible instead of going down one route, one 3-letter organization route, but you incorporate so much and you blend with the situation.
Reality is the best teacher.
Yeah, like fortunately live in a time there's an incredible pharmacy of techniques, learning, research to pull from to develop your own human. What's real in the moment.
And that's what I call me search.
Me search?
Me search, yeah. There's research right out there.
Yeah.
research, and then I get to geek out. I'm doing the research, and then there's the applying it. Right? Why does it
Yeah.
work for me? And I'm wanting. Right, it's like, yes, there's the meta of I'm wanting to find the one thing that'll make all my problems go away. But right, the prize is in the process. In the process, I'm engaging in the dignity of risk, of the trial and error, to figure out what works for me based on me. So I'm actually getting
Right.
to know me and my needs and what's effective and less effective or more effective in different contexts, in different circumstances, because not one thing is going to work all the time. And then as we begin to build up this practice, we then become aware of the thing we would do anything to not do. And at some point with that awareness, we do something with that. By which point in time, we've developed our capacity for discomfort and for inconvenience and for uncertainty. And for many of us as trauma survivors, discomfort and unsafety are deeply intertwined. Yeah, and so we can uncouple it. Am I unsafe or am I uncomfortable? Yeah. And as I engage in that dignity of risking, of trying new things, I'm flexing my capacity for discomfort, for uncertainty, and for inconvenience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we need as a collective. We need to flex our collective capacity for discomfort and inconvenience and uncertainty, because that is what late stage capitalism sells us. That's what capitalism has always sold us. Convenience, comfort, and predictability. And when you're a trauma survivor, these things are actually fundamentally necessary in order to get our feet back on the ground. And then, right,
they have an addictive quality too.
Absolutely. Which is why and how so many of us build worlds that are rigid. Yeah.
And how are you informed by your clients in your research?
Oh, it's the both and.
Yeah.
I'm here with you right now, and yet here is a dot point in time in a larger journey. And can I track the larger journey while being here with you right now? Yeah. Right. Yes, we're trying on new skills. We're trying on new things. We're doing the me search. Oh, yeah. And here's this thing that you would do anything to not do, right? Which is be in a group or, right. Yeah. Whatever the thing is, actually have the conversation with your partner. Maybe that's the thing you do anything to not do. Okay, cool. Well, we'll put that on the shelf. We'll notice that. Let's build some capacity over here. Let's do the me search over here. And oftentimes that thing that you would do anything to not do, we don't talk about it. Right? Like it's not even on the radar as a possibility that I could ask people for help. Right? That's another thing we would do anything to not do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it's cool. I can see it, but just because I can see it doesn't mean I need to do anything about it.
So probing a little deeper on your journey with
Yeah.
being invisible is kind of safe. Like you stand in front of a lot of rooms and you laid out when you transmit this work. And I remember we're in the dining room at the Networker last year, right before your big presentation in front of 5,000 people.
Can we just pause there? Can we just pause there? Let's just pause there because I must have been really, I was very hyper focused, but I don't remember that conversation. But now that you remind me of it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, I just want to know, seeing you ride the edge of excitement and fear, like how do you stand in front of thousands of people and work your nervous system?
I dissociate a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you were on stage, were you disassociate or did you arrive?
It's a both and.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a both and. Right, because then there is never a line in the sand that says, I have arrived, I am healed, I am here, like I am complete, I am whole, I am fixed. And I've actually learned that that is seductive. Yeah, and that doesn't, it's not going to happen. And so I do the best that I can. I turn up and I do the best I can. And that, for me, oftentimes there's a little bit of strategic dissociation that happens in order for me to be fully here.
And if you went back and talked to that woman right now, what would you tell her right before getting on stage?
I wouldn't say anything to her. I wouldn't get in the way of her zone.
Okay, she's a Zen master. What is the sound of one Linda talking?
Yeah. And I know what I'd say to her afterwards. I'd say, you did really good. Like, you did good. Oh. Yeah. I remember getting off that stage, and my manager, Amanda, was standing there waiting for me at the side of stage. And she had this big beaming smile on her face. And I looked at her and I said, I stepped into the footprints that my future self put on that stage for me. Mm.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that. Your journey invisible.
Yes. Yes. And so in many ways, I feel like I'm spirit tracking the footsteps that my future self has laid out in front of me for me to step into. And I feel my ancestors at my back and by my side.
And what's in front? Your future?
What's in front is what is right here, right now. It's the room, it's the people, it's the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I was going to say something, but now the room's doing this and I'm going to speak into that. Right? Like that moment in that room where I talked about my own history of authoritarianism, of communism. Mm-hmm. And I had a pause and I noticed something rippling through the space, and I asked people, put your hand up if you or your ancestors have fled authoritarianism of any form. And 90% of the room put their hand up.
Wow.
And that was surprising. It was shocking. It was like, wow. And I just paused on that a little bit more because it was what was happening in the here and now. Right. And so that's where in front of me is the feeling that I'm always standing on the edge of a cliff. Yeah. And that's the exposure therapy. That's the prolonged exposure therapy. That is also the dignity of risking. It is also the dignity of risking. Yeah. Yeah.
Being willing to be with uncomfortableness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And the imposter syndrome doesn't actually ever go away. I mean, I'll tell you if it does, but I've actually come to a spaciousness around that it won't.
Yeah, you hear stories of famous stage actors that have been doing it for 40 years and they still feel like they're going to throw up before getting on stage every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's so seductive to think that maybe it won't, maybe this will go away. It's so seductive.
Oh, it's a wishful thought, right?
Yes, it is very wishful. Yeah. I have other things instead now. I have other skills. I have other capacities that have been developed. And, it's okay.
Yeah, if a therapist is listening right now and feels probably chronically overwhelmed, burnt out, like they're running on empty, where should they begin? And we talked about it earlier, but
yeah. It's the pause to actually pause. It's the pause to pause and to name that you are running on empty. And to name that maybe perhaps with some gentleness, the way you would for a client. And I've had clients before where I've actually had to sort of get down in their face, like in a gentle way, but yet in your face and say, you're burnt out, you're burning out, you're running on empty. And to say that with such utter, utter, utter love, and to receive that from yourself to yourself, Because the first task of grief is to come to terms with reality. And the first aspect of effective action is to also come to terms with reality. And we don't want to do that when reality is brutal. We don't want to do that when so many people depend upon us. And yet there is an untenability, an unsustainability to this that we deeply wish someone else would notice and do something about. And sometimes that someone is you. And you don't have to do it alone.
That seems like a good part to stop, to leave that, and then titrate that, because I think we all need a pause
Yeah.
and a check. And I'll do that for myself. That was really beautiful. I love hearing your stories, your insights.
You're so very welcome.